being an atheist is challenging. So not because I'm worried about what's going to happen after I die, or how my lack of faith has interacted with the greater world around me, but having been raised Southern Baptist by my family, it is challenging to interact with them when such a core piece of who they are and what they believe is so vastly different from mine. And I think the hardest part of being an atheist is knowing when to speak up about it and when to just let them enjoy their faith. Hi, welcome to the show. So for me, I learned this lesson the hard way. In early 2000, I had a run of really unfortunate events. On the December of the previous year, I'd gotten divorced. In February of 2001, I got laid off and was facing having to move very far away from where my son lived. So I had a lot emotionally going on for me. And I decided to move to Jacksonville, Florida, and on my way back to Cincinnati, I made a side trip to Virginia to visit my father. Now I should tell you that my father is a retired Navy senior chief and had been an alcoholic for my entire life. And so I went to visit him and to kind of, see him. I hadn't seen him in a while. We hadn't been particularly close, but I wanted to see him to kind of get perspective on everything that was going on for me. And he told me that he had stopped drinking. And I thought, well, that's great. Now, my mother was also an alcoholic, but when I was 6, she had gotten into AA, and so I had been raised in Alateen and Al-Anon and adult children and all of that, so I was familiar with my 12 steps, and here's my father standing there in front of me telling me that he had stopped drinking. So I said, okay, great, when did you go to your first meeting? And he said that he didn't go to meetings because there's just a bunch of drunks there. And then he told me that it was Jesus that was going to keep him sober. And I was 25 and an atheist, and I had all this crap going on with me. And what I should have done in that moment was said, Daddy, that's great, I hope that works out for you. If you want, here's how you find some AA meetings or whatever it is that you want to do, but that's not what I did. What I did is I spent the next 4 hours sitting at his kitchen table debating the merits of Christianity and pointing out all of the contradictions in the Bible and pointing out the flaws and the hypocrisy that comes with, the flaws of humans and as they interact with faith, and people that can tell you that they understand the will of God and all of that. And I spent 4 hours trying to convince him that he was wrong. So as I was driving away later that day, I got about an hour away from his house, and I realized that was, certainly at that point in my life, was the meanest thing I'd ever done to anyone. And I thought to myself, you are such an asshole. If that was the thing that was keeping that guy sober, then who are you to try to take that away from him? And I carried that with me for years. And I thought about it many times. And I thought about, what was going on with me at the time. Like, I had all this anger and I had this frustration with what was going on with me. But more than that, I had these wrongs from him to me. And it had, and as I reflected on it, it occurred to me that he was talking to God and getting absolution from God. But he never asked for my forgiveness for his sins against me. Now, my Jewish friends, they have Yom Kippur. And on Yom Kippur, you ask forgiveness from God for your sins. But the day before is referred to as Erev Yom Kippur. And on Erev Yom Kippur, you have to ask forgiveness from people before you can ask forgiveness from God. And my father was standing in front of me, feeling absolved of his sins, without ever having asking me for my forgiveness. So last month, as I was writing his eulogy and delivering his eulogy, I quoted the Bible. Love is patient, love is kind, and all of that. But I also quoted Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. And the quote that I used from him was that love is not the perfect state of caring. Love is an active noun, like struggle. And the act of love is to accept someone as they are right here and right now. And as I said those words at his eulogy, I immediately flashed back to that moment and how critically I had failed in that moment when he needed me to be the good son. So I say this on Bookends because to me it's about forgiveness, right? So he never asked me for my forgiveness, and I never asked him. And for me, now that moment is past. I will never have that opportunity to ask for his forgiveness. So to me, that's the bookend. It's the idea that it's about balance, and it's about finding when is the right time to put your thoughts and your faith into somebody else's world, or not, lack of faith as the case may be, into somebody else's world. And when is it okay for them to be who they need to be and to love them for exactly who they need to be right now? And that's what I learned as I delivered the eulogy at my father's funeral. Thank you.